people pick up on that. So for me, the biggest obstacle was to actually begin charging when I first started. I have to say that was my biggest struggle because I naturally love to give and to share my light and to offer insights or hold a space for people. That's just my nature, which is why the coaching comes so naturally. But I realized, and I had to recognize, and I would say to any coaches that are aspiring to be coaches out there, it's so important to remember the value that you are in fact offering. It's such a huge piece. And I know that when I began to honor that, I now see, and it's so rewarding to see the impact and just to get the feedback and to see the results in my clients' lives. And, we have coaches for everything else. We pay for all sorts of other services. And so the value that we offer as coaches is so important to remind ourselves and to remember. So that's a really big piece. The other thing that I would say is to be clear about who your audience is. Because, there are a lot of life coaches out there. It's a huge growing industry. But to really get a sense of who it is you're speaking to, what does that look like? And really get tapped into a community that really resonates with you and your heart and your experience. People that are really, like for myself, I found that as I began coaching, initially I was taking on all sorts of people. And I still do to some extent. But I really found that women in particular who are, warrior women wanting to step into their or step into their light, step into their
goddess,
powerful goddess. That's right. Those are the people who are naturally being drawn to me. And so I've really cultivated that as my main sort of target clientele or audience, if you will. But so I'd say really to be clear on who you're speaking to and who you want to work with, and then to also remember and remind yourself of the value that you're offering, and to really walk bravely with that and to shine that.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things. Thank you so much. I think, I kind of experienced that as well in terms of, honoring your boundaries, And I think when we start out, we question, are we good enough? Our self-worth even comes up, and, and to me, that's where I I was like, oh, charging, not charging, you know what I mean? It was like, are they really, I'm really worth this amount. So that's really beautiful. And thank you for that sharing. And the other key thing, I totally agree with you, is like, know your niche or niche, I think you say in the US. It's
well, most people say, I'm from Montreal, we say niche, but niche is right.
yeah. We speak proper English up in Canada. But knowing who your audience is, and who you love to coach and who you can support the most, I think is really important. Yet again, from my perspective, that took a while. That wasn't something that you instantly know. I think that will come from your experience coaching and who you are coaching, and who you find, as you say, I know you're described as the alchemist in terms of in the coach, so that beautiful transformation from whatever to this light gold, etc. So to step into that is very different than a pure executive type coaching where it's still very corporate focused, and you're how would I say goals, and it's driven by career and driven by work outcomes and driven, etc.
Absolutely.
Although there's plenty of room for bringing in light into corporates.
Absolutely. And that's it. I really feel that it's, understanding who that target market is, and then integrating the aspects of what it is you really want to share. And having some unique aspects as well that really speak from your own heart. I really feel that I always resonate the most with, even, for example, someone like Marianne Williamson or any of my mentors and teachers. It's that they speak their truth. I have to say, when I first began coaching after having done some schooling, I found myself feeling a little bit scripted because I was following this curriculum of how to coach. And then the minute I just reminded myself of all the wisdom, all of the learning, all of the teachings, but ultimately that I had this inner guidance that came from a higher place that I believe so much in, that I offer my clients as well. I was able to intuitively know how to coach. And sometimes after a session or after a group soul shop, I'm like, wow, where did that come from? And it's amazing. So trusting ourselves and trusting that knowing is such an important piece too. Not to get into the ego mind, which can sort of trip us up, and the fear stuff. So I feel like that's all so really working out the aspects of self-care and that trust within, all of those pieces are equally important because that shines through. And it, it lends itself to the value, the self-worth, the boundaries you speak of, which were a big part for me because I just love to share the love with everyone. So I had to be like, okay, we gotta make some boundaries here, Yeah,
absolutely. I think all of us out there have been there and done that.
Yeah. And I would say, too, that for aspiring coaches to get your practice on, I know that at the beginning, although, I had reluctance charging, I have to say it was great practice to just offer the coaching, getting it out there, offering it to friends, peers, people you meet who are inspired by what you're talking about it, sharing it with people, letting people know that's what you're doing, starting little groups. Just really getting it out there because you want to get your practice on. You want to really get tapped into it and cultivate that audience so that you can articulate who it is you're speaking to.
Yeah. Have you do you do speaking much? Do you go out and speak to groups? Not necessarily, your group, but other people being invited to other people's groups, etc.?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. That's starting to happen, and I do want to do that more because I really feel called to speak to more, which is one of the reasons I started Sunny Side Up, because I feel like I love working with the individuals and I can really customize according to each person's experience, but there's something so powerful about being able to reach more people. So that's part of the trajectory. That's the sort of next step. I do it on a smaller scale here in Los Angeles, but it's going to be happening more and more because I really do feel called to share this message and this light and this passion that I have, and so much of what's been, what I've tapped into from my own experience to share that with others and to inspire others to live from that place. So
I get it. And, I'm in a similar position as